Welcome back, everyone. Thanks a lot for coming back. Thanks for all the new subscribers, and thanks for all the old subscribers and people that just found the video by searching. Hopefully you find it entertaining and informing, and, well, if nothing else, a good waste of time. So, what have I been doing? Well, I've been working on the expansion, well, the redo, I guess. So I'll take you guys over there shortly, show you the new track plan that I ended up with. I've been doing a lot of work, but nothing I haven't covered in a lot of other videos. And like I said in the last video, Penn Central 99 did a great video on feeder wires and bus wires and things like that. And that's really what I've been working on a lot lately. Got the track laid, but then I had to go in, and it's just a tedious process of punching holes and running feeder wires up, soldering them in, moving on to the next one, moving on to the next one. And then I also went ahead and did the frog power routing for the running wires on those, and that's a little bit not necessarily time consuming, but you got to run one wire up into the frog, and then you got to run those back to a central location. Either if you're going to use something like a hex frog juicer by Tam, shoot, I forgot the company's name now. Is it Tam Depot? I'll have to look that up, but they have like it's an auto sense unit that automatically flips the polarity on the frog depending on if it senses a short. And I've been tempted to get one of those. It comes with the one that they make is a 6-unit. It can handle 6 different turnouts of frog polarities. I just for now use, because of cost, I just use the toggle switches and single pole, double double throw. That's what I was looking for. So I can obviously flip the polarity on that. But anyway, so once I have that done, which I actually do, I can come back in now that everything's been feeder wired and everything's been soldered in place. I can paint the track, and I usually do that with my airbrush. So I haven't touched on that in prior videos, so I thought I would do that in this one. Nothing fancy, just taking the airbrush and laying down a coat of paint on it to give it a weathered look. And then I guess we'll see where things go. I'm kind of guessing what project I want to do next. It was kind of Christmas this week again, only a few weeks after Christmas, but a month or so. And but I happened upon an HO interchange group. A gentleman was selling 8 Wisconsin Central cars, and he said if you took them all, he'd give you a discounted price. And like I said, that's the bane of my existence, and I'm a sucker for a deal. So I ended up with 8 cars ranging from this exact rail in their Platinum series. Is it their Platinum series? Oh, Evolution series, sorry. So this isn't the most highly detailed of the exact rail line, but it's still good enough for the girls I date, as I like to say. It's still got metal crossover platforms, individually applied grab irons and ladders, and of course it's got their really nice metal trucks on them and everything. So that was nice. And then there was some Trainman, which honestly, these are supposed to be Atlas's value line, meant more for the entry level. To be quite honest, this harkens back to the blue box days of a Thurn, the roundhouse kits. But the detail is actually still much better in the Trainman line than the old blue box kits. I love the really nicely detailed cars, but to be quite honest, when trains are running, I see it as a box car, or in this case a gondola. You weather it up, you put a load in it, it serves its purpose. This cost me $10 versus, some of them that could cost you $35, $40. If you've got the money, hey, great. But, I got to cut corners. This isn't my only hobby, unfortunately, and the family needs to eat. So, Trainman gets the job done, and they look nice, in my opinion. And then there were some these I'm really excited about. I don't have one of these in my repertoire yet. They're in the lineup. So this is just a Walther's, and then this is the Platinum line. So this has got some really nicely applied handrails and stuff like that. And then so some of those, and then some 2-bay covered hoppers, which are really nice for the you know, concrete and sand, and then a Wisconsin Central in the gray scheme, or like a kind of a cream gray. So anyway, those are like I said, HO interchange group. It always gets me, but I couldn't pass the steel up. It was too good. So anyway, let's go take a look at the layout, and then we'll get to some projects. Well, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on this. I've covered how I solder, you know, just using flux to clean off your contact points. And then, as I mentioned, I've got a real thin solder that I've had for a while. The thinner the better, and you can see it there, hopefully. And you can get the big solder that you know use to solder pipes, but that's not what you want. You want electrical solder. Make sure you're always working with the right tools for the job. And then I just use a small brush. I'm not sure where it got off to here, but just to wet down the contact points on anything on the wire, and then apply the heat and the solder to it. So basically, what I have here is all of my polarity controls for the different turnouts and adjusting the frogs. And it might look like a jumble of wires, or as a rat's nest as we used to call it in the circuit board design world, but in reality all it is just different polarities coming in on either side of the switch here. And so what I do is each switch has a groove in it, and that's to align this fascia ring on the front here. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little tab here. That tab lines up with the cut. So I basically use that as my marker, and have the solid colored wires coming in on that side, and then on the opposite side is the white with the stripe coming in. And the center goes off to the turnout frog itself. So each of these has wires coming in, and basically I just daisy chained this whole entire group, and so one of them has the feeder wires coming in, and then it goes off to the next one, off to the next one, off to the next one, and it's just powering that short little section of frog, so it runs a little bit of distance. And under here, I don't know if it'll show up, but basically I left the jacket on some old phone cable that I have, so there's 6 wires running. Let's see if this shows up. It might be in the shadows. I'm not sure if it's going to show up real well. But there's 6 wires, and I just leave them bundled together. Those run underneath and then fan out to the turnout frogs. And then there's another one that runs off. This is actually feeder wire. Let's see if I can get it in here. This one here is just feeder wire coming from the power bus, and that starts the feeders on either side of this guy, and then they go off. You can see he's feeding the rest of the switches. Like I said, these are single pole, meaning that they've only got 2 contacts on one side. A double pole would have 2 sets of contacts. So it's single pole, double throw. So instead of just being an on-off, it actually makes contact with the center and then one or the other. So it's kind of a misnomer. They say it's a double throw, but in actuality it's just a single throw. But you know, instead of just being on-off, you make contact with another contact. So you close the circuit between 2 sets of contacts, which is really the double throw in it, single pole double throw. But so temporarily, this is my old switch panel that I had for the layout, and it used to be mounted just angled on the side of the layout. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead, and I've drawn a line, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this board, mount it to the side of the layout, and pop some holes in it just temporarily for now until I decide what I really want to do with finishing off the fascia of the layout and then permanently mounting the switches. For the time being, I'll just drill some holes in it, get these in there, and then it gives them some place to be instead of just hanging on the side of the layout. So nothing special there, just more of a temporary fix kind of thing. Now I almost didn't complete this, but then on time, or I should say right away, and I thought no, I'm not going to make that mistake again. So here, if you go back in one of my videos, I believe I called it reaching my limit switches. Here's the limit switch installed on this side, and the wiring for that runs under. Slowly pan over, and there is the limit switch for that side. And while we're under here, I'll just kind of show you what I do for wiring. These are Molex connectors. You'll see them a lot you'll see them in older computers. They've gone away from these now, and the serial ATA buses don't use this style connector anymore, which is why I have a lot of these. So they unplug and plug in really well, and so I just go ahead and use them for this, which is really nice. They unplug to take the bridge out. So then this is my bus wire here. Now I know a lot of you commented in last video that you can get this wire pre-stripped and everything. I totally agree. I happen to have coated Romex from a house project I had been working on and didn't want to waste it. And then here's the suitcase connectors, whatever you want to call them. Insulation displacement connectors, but basically this is the bus line coming in here, and then this is just a feeder that comes off, and then I attach my feeder wires to it here, and then eventually I'll come back and cover this up with electrical tape. And this hodgepodge is the brains of the outfit, the Digitrax control module, and then our control station, and this is the power supply for it. And obviously these are just the feeder wires. There's a distribution block I've got up under here, so wires run off this way and then off that way to the rest of the layout. And then you can just see here's all my feeder wires coming in for all the switches and leads and stuff like that. What I just showed was a temporary panel that I use until I can get the, like I said, the full fascia in and really kind of get something in that's going to be permanent. And in this case, this fascia is already done and I've already got it in place. And you can see this is the schematic of the original track plan. There was one switch off in this area, and so now there's a crossover here. So what I'll do is I just use this pinstriping tape, and I got it at my hobby shop, and it was in like the model airplane, model RC car section. So I think it's just pinstriping, and I don't remember the width on this, but I'm going to say it's like a 1/16 of an inch, possibly smaller. But it's great. It's just got, as you can see, unfortunately it kind of unravels on me quite easily, but it's still usable. So I'll just peel this piece off here, extend the white line here, and then put the crossover piece in here, and then just insert the switch in from the back side, secure it in place, and that's it. So that's really all I do for my my panels here. And again, these are just polarity, not for the turnouts themselves. So it gets the job done. Okay, so to wrap up the track laying, you can see in some of the areas I had to kind of just take the surf foam rasp, and these foam panels had a slight dip to them, and I had to take that out. I just shaved it down. This will get covered by scenery once it's all done, so not too big a deal. It's all pretty solid. But you can see, like here in this area, there's obvious gaps. You know, there's where the joints are. So what I do is, as I'm clipping track to cut this, I remove the ties, and then I'll just come back and I'll remove the molded on nail, the spikes and tie plates and stuff like that, and then you're able to go ahead and just slip these under. Now, I don't know, these might not slip under real well here. I might have too much adhesive here, but well, anyway, they're supposed to slip under nice and easy. I might have to shave these down a little bit, but then you just put them under and it kind of hides the joint. So I'll go around and do that throughout this all the new track and everything. So now that I have all the feeder wires and frog feeders and turnouts wired, the next thing I like to do is, and I've got all my additional ties put in wherever there was gaps in between flex track and turnouts and all that kind of stuff. And so now I'll come in, and with my airbrush I'm going to give this everything a base coat of rail brown, just to kind of try and draw together, because unfortunately, like, the flex track has black ties, and then the turnouts that I made had natural wood ties, and you can see this one was never really fully painted, so it's definitely needs a good coat. Now, the advantage to the turnouts that I have and making them by hand is that the rails carry power across the circuit board ties to power the turnout rails, the points. So I don't need to worry about masking off any of this turnout, because power is still being routed through the solder joints and through the PCB ties. Now, if you're using handmade, or some switches rely on the contact being made of the diverging route or the stock rail to the turnout rail to make contact. So then you're going to need to either mask or come back and clean up afterwards, which is kind of a pain. So the handmade turnouts are nice in that regards. But the other thing that this helps to do too is it hides all your solder joints, the bright shiny solder joints, and all the bright stuff. And so what I'll do is when I'm against the wall and stuff like that, I just got a piece of old cardboard that I use, and I'll just put it up against it so I avoid spraying the wall or other buildings and things like that. So I won't really show this process. I'm just going to kind of show the end result. The compressor's kind of loud and there's not much to see. I'm just going to go through and paint the sides of the rails, things like that. So one of the most invaluable tools that you can buy is a voltmeter, digital or regular. You can pick them up pretty cheap online, and I've had this one. This is an old Craftsman model that I picked up when I used to work at Sears. But this is really invaluable, and really it's key to measuring voltage on a DCC system. As DCC is actually AC voltage due to the frequency that it's sent across. So if you're ever measuring track voltage, you want to set this to AC voltage. And now granted, this is set up for a household line current, or line voltage rather, so its ranges are quite high, as you can see, 200 volts, but that's okay. It'll still pick up 14 volts or 16 volts, 12 volts, depending on what scale you're modeling. The reason I bring this up is because I found a dead piece of track as I started running a test train through the new area of the layout. Lo and behold, I found out that one of the pieces of recycled track that I was using had a cut in it from creating an isolation block. It was actually a piece of track that I had used on the lead up to the old lift out bridge. So it created an open in that area and no voltage across it. So this came in handy. I measured voltage, and found the cut. It's so fine that I didn't notice it by sight until I'm looking at it going, hey, that's a cut in there. So like I said, and this is also great for measuring shorts. You can put it to measuring resistance, and if you touch the two leads together, I don't know if this is going to show up, but you can see it's when it's got a 1 like this on this particular one, that means it's completely open. But now if you look closely and I touch the two leads together, you can see that it zeroes out, and that means you've got a short somewhere, or in this case I'm holding the two leads together, And that's really invaluable when working on track. Before you power anything up, you want to make sure that your two rails are completely isolated, and otherwise as soon as you turn your system on, it's going to start chirping that you've got a short and you don't know where it is. A little easier to find it using an ohm meter. Okay, so here's an overview of the new layout area. Here's the connection to the older part. Now in this area, I had a turnout that combined the two main lines. One was the siding and then there was the main line, and that used to combine actually right where that turnout is. Now it's a reversed, it's a right-handed turnout instead of a left-handed, and it's a crossover, and eventually that lead going off where there's no track will be the connection to the temporary or removable storage yard. The new main line is the one coming off closer to us, wrapping around here. And you can see this is actually post weathering the rail, and it isn't uniform. It's not meant to be. It's, you know, rail weathers at you know, different colors and different shades. So if it doesn't look even, that's kind of okay. The ballast will help draw everything together. So here's the future home of the lumber yard and lumber company. In the background there, I'll just be an industry, and then eventually, hopefully on this curve here, I'll have a tank car unloading facility and some tanks to hold product. And then eventually I plan to have a lead come off of this, possibly having a switch going back off to the left hand side there as well. Haven't decided yet, so I've left that just open as it is. Here's the two leads that come off to the cement works. That'll hopefully be able to hold quite a few double 2-bay hoppers. And then this is just the runaround track in the center here for switching purposes, and then you can see there's a train running on the main line right now. That about wraps it up for this video. I know I probably didn't show a lot this time. You know, it's funny, but now that it's cold and winter time, and it's a perfect opportunity to be working in the basement and working on the layout, it's so cold here in Wisconsin lately that the furnace is constantly running, and I know in some of my videos you'll hear it running in the background, and it's just, it sounds like a jet engine running, and I really kind of don't like putting that on the video. It's just, it's loud and it's obnoxious. So unfortunately I find myself trying to record in between the furnace running and shutting off, and as I'm working I find myself like, I missed it and the furnace is running again, you know, and so I keep forging ahead, finishing projects, and I don't really record everything. So, you know, it's kind of a catch-22. When it's nice out, I'm out riding, and now when it's cold out and I'm in the basement working on stuff, the furnace is always running. I can't exactly make my family freeze for the videos, so sorry guys. A little bit shorter this time, possibly. We'll see what happens when I edit it. I did want to show one thing though. I showed this last video, the start of it anyway, and I got around to weathering it and attaching the car itself and the trucks. So you can see these are just these are pieces of old inner tube tires, and I've got some trimming I've got to do on them, but for the time being they're adhering in place. And so then I just weathered up the trucks, gave the car a once over. Actually, as I was weathering the track over on the new section of the layout, I put the same color on this car and gave it a good coat, and then took some AIM weathering powders and went over the top of it to give it a dusting, give it, you know, a dirty look. And I might come back and really dirty up the car itself. But for the time being, it's actually quite a hefty car now because the weight is still in this guy, plus the weight, this is a cast metal flat car, so it's got some good bulk to it. He might end up at the front of the train instead of at the back. But so that's that. I like it. It turned out pretty well. It matches closely to the picture that I found that one time. So just one quick project. As I said, now I've got to decide what projects I'm going to be working on moving forward in terms of the new section of the layout. It's kind of fun. It's a whole new area. Yeah, I won't start singing Aladdin here. It's a whole new world. Don't want to do that. But a whole new section of the layout to work on. Like I said, I want to look at the backdrops and kind of venture off into that. I also got a tip from someone on a forum that I belong to, and they suggested, someone asked about inexpensive trees, and I suggested the method that I use with the polyfiber and the tree armatures, and someone else suggested taking wire, just like craft wire that you can buy at Michael's or your local craft store, twisting those into armatures and then just dipping that straight into latex house paint or any latex paint, even double and triple dipping, just to build up the bulk of the branches and stuff like that. And I thought, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Just pick up some cheap paint, pick up some stuff, twist it, and then go with the polyfiber like I already do. So I'm thinking about doing that as a future project. Just I've kind of run out of natural armatures, and other than buying the Woodland Scenics ones, I thought that could be a good idea. So we'll possibly give that a try in the future. I've also got a lot of little projects with all the cars that I got to get those weathered and ready to go out on the layout, and then of course the removable yard. I'm really excited about that as a project as well. Not on the top of the list yet. Oh, and I do want to also, I had quite a few people have asked me about using the jig and doing a switch. It's about a 45-minute process. I'll probably show you the highlights of it, or if nothing else, fast forward through the whole thing. The other thing I can suggest for the time being is if you do a YouTube search for Fast Tracks turnout jig, I guarantee you'll find them. Rochelle, shoot, I should have looked up his name. There's an N scaler that did a video of him, and he did a great job, and that's what he did. He just kind of recorded the whole thing, but then fast forwarded it so it was only like a few, like 10-15 minutes long instead of being, the 45 minutes that it takes. But anyway, so that's future stuff. So thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for subscribing, and hope to see you next time.